All right, Gregory, Jerome. So I think it was Effie that connected us, right?
Correct.
Right. And you have, not only are you a well-dressed guy and you do some cool stuff and everybody's got to look good, but you have one hell of a backstory you were telling me offline. So let's go backward. I think it was out west or wherever you started, and you got to tell me the whole story and share it with everybody, and it's inspirational. And then we'll get into at the end how everybody can look better working with you and so forth. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me.
All right, then do it.
Yeah. So where we had connected and was discussing, this pivotal transitional moment in my life,
Right.
right, was when I was residing out in LA. But even prior to LA,
Good. Let's
this
go
is
back.
the thing,
Yeah.
right? We'll take it back and then we'll go forward.
Nice.
So I went to school out in Murfreesboro, Tennessee for music industry.
Okay.
And
Is that near
I was
Nashville or?
right. It was suburbs of Nashville.
Okay.
Right. So I was out
Makes
there
sense,
doing
yeah.
my music thing, and I end up having to relocate back to Oklahoma City
Okay.
for more support for my mother.
Okay.
My brother had been incarcerated. He got 15 years federal time.
Ooh.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
So I went back home to support my mom. So I sold everything I had. That I was out there for about 6 years actually in
Oh, so
Tennessee.
you were out there being a musician for real.
I was traveling, I was touring, I was really doing my thing.
Okay.
And the situation occurred. And I'm the youngest, right? So
Of how many?
Of three.
Three. Okay.
So I believe it was my responsibility to go back and take care of mom.
Yeah, a lot of
Right.
people would feel that way, right? Families in
Right.
trouble. Especially your mom.
Yeah, especially when her first child is being incarcerated for that
Yeah.
long, right?
Yeah.
So I felt it was my responsibility to go. So I gave up everything that I had, and I loaded everything I could in my car, and I drove back to Oklahoma City from Murfreesboro.
Yeah.
And once getting there, I had to really start all over at a new place.
Yeah.
And once I got there, I jumped into the music scene, the local music scene, things like
Right.
that.
That's what you do, right?
And
So
that's what I do. That's my thing.
Of course.
But also I found some part-time work doing some retail work with Coach.
Okay.
Right.
Coach like the leather store. The leather
Coach like
company.
the leather store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, got
So
it.
I was working, the men's and women's. There was an outlet out there in Oklahoma City.
Got
And
it.
so I was working at both stores. I
Okay.
was one of the top sales guys there, and
Okay.
doing good.
Because
And
you
so
just
the
found
music,
like sales like fit you. You were. It was.
well, retail is my thing. Anything
Yeah.
dealing with fashion, like that's my jam. That's what I
your
call
jam.
my
Okay.
jam.
Good.
Right.
So unlike other people, maybe you ended up where you're supposed to be, right?
Right. So
Yeah.
so with that being said,
And Gregory, this was
found-
what year? This was
so this is around 2009, 2000,
okay,
end
so
of
you're
2009.
talking like 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And so I'm back, and I'm figuring it all out. I'm working, I'm doing music. And then I really wanted to do more because for me, I believe my purpose in life is all about human empowerment. How can I help people?
Yeah.
I believe I'm here to serve people,
That's
to
your
help people become better.
That's your why, right? Is that what
That's my why, man.
There you go.
That's my why in life.
I love
period.
I love
No matter
it.
what chapter or industry I'm in,
Yeah.
it's always been about helping somebody else
Yeah, you're a good
become
guy.
better or
Yeah.
feel
Well,
great.
we need more
right?
people like that in the world. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, I would agree.
I mean, think about
And-
that. If everybody had that same attitude and belief, what kind of world would we live in?
It'll
be
be
unbelievable.
much more. It'd be a lot peaceful.
People would be like fighting over helping each other instead of
Right.
the opposite.
No, I'll do
Right,
it.
I'll help you. No, you help. I'm gonna help. I mean, it'd be crazy,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Right.
it's idealistic. So anyway,
Right.
yeah.
So now that I'm in the mix, I've built some credibility for myself in the music scene.
So
in
what are you playing
Oklahoma.
at night and stuff at like coffee houses and places, and then working
Yeah,
during the day?
nightclubs and things like
Nightclubs, right.
that. Right. So eventually got to a point where I
And
wanted
everybody's
to do
listening. What do
more.
you play? They're gonna want to.
So actually, I'm a lyricist. I'm a songwriter. So I write lyrics. And
okay.
it comes from the bass. The bass is hip hop. So it's
Okay.
like a poet at large.
Okay.
Right. But
So
the
you're
thing
a
that I do
vocalist.
is, right, vocalist.
Okay.
There you
Okay.
go.
There you go. Okay.
So one of my core values is collaborations, right? So even with music, even back in Nashville, I've always collaborated with different genres of music,
Okay.
right? So this ranges anywhere from acoustic to rock and roll, jazz, blues, gospel, reggae, you name it, it goes on. Classical, all of it, right? So I'm in Oklahoma City, I'm doing music, I'm doing fashion, and I still want to do more. It's like I want to do more.
How much more can you do?
So
You're like
right,
not sleeping at night.
right,
Okay.
right. That's what most people say to me anyway, right?
Right. Yeah.
So the thing was, it was a thriving arts community in Oklahoma.
Okay.
So people love the arts,
Yeah.
visual arts, especially
Uh-huh.
public art, things like that.
Yeah.
So I started tapping into the art community, and I was able to create an after school program for
Nice.
kids.
Nice.
It's called Elemental Hip Hop Program. We
Okay.
teach the 4 distinct elements of hip hop, but we also teach leadership, communication, teamwork.
Awesome.
We all of it, and it's all perform. It was all performance based,
All performing arts. Okay.
right? And then there's times where I've just started collaborating with high school marching bands for different festivals that went along in Oklahoma City.
Uh-huh.
There was a point in time where I performed with the Oklahoma Philharmonic and
Nice.
orchestra.
Doing
Right?
hip hop?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I love it.
First time in history, especially
Yeah.
in Oklahoma City, being a red state, right?
I guess. Good
Something
point.
innovative, man. Something innovative.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool
So
stuff.
so I was doing that. I was very involved in the community, doing things for high schools. I was a traveling touring artist, teaching artist. I used to travel around and teach a program
Nice.
in high schools,
Yeah.
underserved community, underprivileged, things
So
like
you'd
that.
come in like when we used to go and have an assembly, and there'd be somebody coming in about whatever culture or whatever it was. You would be one of those guys
Right.
who came and gave a presentation and performed or
Right.
whatever. Got
Or it's me coming into the classroom and actually doing work with the students,
Got it.
like hands-on. And this is my life in Oklahoma. It changed from being strictly an artist to now becoming, back in a more of an arts educator.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
able
You're
to
using
then
the arts to teach people and to change their values and to help them.
right.
Yeah.
I saw a need in the community for a lot of the hip hop community. They didn't really have a platform to really express themselves
Uh-huh.
that showed value to them. So I created the inaugural Oklahoma Hip Hop Festival.
Nice.
And so I did that for 2 years. It was
Okay.
before its time, but people
Only because you were in
people loved it.
Oklahoma.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're on the East Coast or the West
That's-
Coast, it probably wasn't.
It's a
before
totally
its
different
time.
story.
Yeah,
Right. It was probably
totally.
right on time, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So with that being said, I kind of got away. I got away from retail,
Okay.
and I got into
Because you were doing so much in the arts and teaching and all that stuff.
right.
Yeah.
Because I did the program for a couple of years.
Right.
And what actually segued me into doing that is when I was actually working for a company called Public Strategies in Oklahoma, which is a nonprofit organization. And they had a subcontract with the Obama administration during Green Job, like that whole push,
Okay.
right back in 2010.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to I landed a position as an employment specialist. And so now my background is in psychology, as I stated,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Behavioral science and ethics.
Okay.
So I was a mentor, counselor, things like that. So package that up into one. As an employment specialist, I was working with the lower 70 percentile of the poverty rate in Oklahoma.
Okay.
This is taking people who were making annual 0 to 9,000 a year.
Yeah.
To now being interviewed and being
so
prepared.
You're helping with job skills and prep for a job and all that.
Right.
Stuff.
Exactly. So I help spearhead the Career Readiness 101 cohorts that came through, show them how to dress. I made collaborations with different clothes closets in the community to get them clothes to interview, all these different things. Really was like the height of my life. This is like the time in my life where I've like made the most money. I'm like in this nonprofit world. I'm doing great. I'm having dinner with mayors,
you're helping people and stuff.
Right.
So you're doing both, right? You're making money and
like
you're helping.
I'm at the height of my life, man.
Yeah.
Like I'm at the financially everything, right? I mean, a guy coming, I was born in Oklahoma City, of course, but I was raised in a place called Texarkana, Texas,
Okay.
/ Arkansas, which is small town,
Never heard
right?
of it. Yeah.
So, I'm in, in my early 30s. I'm pushing Mercedes Benz. I'm living in a condo. Like, I'm like, yeah, this is life,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so that's that part, right?
Yeah. So life has to smack you on the head now, wake you up.
So
right?
life smacks me, man. So I was in a relationship, and the relationship took me to LA.
Okay.
So I gave up everything again that I was doing.
Okay.
And tried to start
with this person.
With this, yeah.
Which is, by the way, often a mistake, but you learn, right?
Often
the heart
mistake.
is always right, stronger than the brain.
Well, listen, man, I tell you what, if I had a male figure in my life who would have educated me on that, it would have probably been a different choice that I would have made.
Maybe, but I know a lot of people that do have male figures in their life, and they're kids, no, you don't know, you don't understand.
Just got to try it out for yourself, kind of thing. Right.
Correct. But you're right. Adult figures help. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I end up going to Los Angeles. Relationship goes south. We separate. And now I'm in LA with no family, no friends, no anybody.
So she was really from, this person was really from
LA.
She was it. So she
was actually she was from Oklahoma. She landed like $100,000 contract. She was an actress. Okay. And she started
she didn't know anybody there either. You went for her job.
Right. But she was set though, Yeah.
Okay.
$100,000 contract doing movies. Like, come on, right? You're set. I'm at ground zero. So that means I have to go out, find a job, try to match what she's bringing in, because that became an issue, right? So I'm like, okay, I understand.
Okay.
So tried to do it, found me a nice job doing the same thing that I was doing with public strategy in Oklahoma. So I started working for an employment company that worked with individuals with behavioral disabilities. So I'm
work and get a job or whatever.
Right, doing the same thing that I was doing there, but this time I had a team under me. I wasn't the employment specialist this time. I'm the site coordinator at this point. So I moved up the ranks.
Yeah, so that sounds
at
good.
This point. Right. So, I thought it was a pretty well-paying job. Well, compared to another person making X amount, could not be, right? So I take it.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
That's a different chapter, right?
That's an interview for her, not you.
Right. So what ended up happening was I was sleeping in my car.
Because you didn't because you had to move out of your apartment. You're with her.
Right.
Okay.
And so what ended up happening was I was sleeping in my car. And then it would, during the winter time, it gets pretty chilly in LA.
Yeah.
In LA, like it gets chilly in LA.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
it's not like
people don't think
New York,
it does,
but it gets cold. Sure.
Yeah, but you know, you go from 70-degree weather every day, and then it drops down to the 50s, and you're like, well, wait a minute.
And you're living in your car. You're not in an apartment. And you're living in your car. Insulation and stuff.
So, So, at this point, I don't have enough money saved to get me a place because rent in LA is high.
Yeah.
Right. Most people need 2 or 3 people living in one house, that is a 1 bedroom, to afford rent out there.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Because it's so expensive. So I didn't have enough money to get my own place in LA. So that's why I stayed in the car. And during the wintertime, like I slept inside of the office of where I worked.
Jesus.
Yeah. Sound like a Les Brown story.
Did they have a bathroom there, a shower?
Yeah. Yeah. It was a bathroom, no shower. So this is how I made it. So there's the thing called the sink. That's one.
Yeah.
And then you get gym memberships.
Yeah. Like the Y or whatever. You go and you shower and you work out and you shower again,
when
right?
Or you just get gym passes
for
like a week.
Gyms. Yeah.
And you just go to gym and drop
it. Just hope you don't run out.
Exactly. Well, there's a lot of gyms in LA, so it depends on how far you got to drive.
You're picking up a free 1-week membership,
right?
From gym
just so I can go work out and take a shower and be okay to go.
Yeah.
So I would work out at night, take a shower at night, go to sleep, get up, and just go to work.
What had you wash your clothes and stuff? I mean, couldn't have had.
Well, we go to a laundry.
Oh, you go to
Yeah,
a
well,
laundromat and then do
yeah,
it and
well,
dry it and throw it
I
back in
was
the
a
car.
minimalist before a minimalist was a thing.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, but you still had
right?
to, you couldn't have one outfit because then what are you gonna do? Stand
Yeah,
naked in the laundry? Yeah, it's not gonna
exactly,
work. So you had to have some
exactly,
clothes. Right. Okay.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I had that, and it got to a point where I lost that job because they found me sleeping inside, and I explained to
Oh,
them what was going on.
yeah, that
Right?
wasn't good enough.
No, it wasn't. And so at that point, I was searching for places. So luckily enough, one of the guys who worked at the place
Hmm.
had a resource for people who needed like shelter, like place to live,
Right.
for very minimal amount, even
Right.
though it was room shares. Right? You
Okay. So
familiar with
what?
room shares?
What when you
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, share a room with another person. But
Yeah, it's like
see,
a rooming house.
you know, yeah, yeah, yeah. But the thing about it is, it wasn't just a normal sharing a room with a person that's a professional. I was sharing rooms with people who were pedophiles or people who were
Who
out of
couldn't get,
jail, like
yeah.
out of
You're like in a
prison,
halfway
like
house.
probation. Almost pretty much that's what it
Yeah.
was like, right?
Jesus.
Wasn't the cleanest place,
Right.
right? And so things
Well, you
happened
probably didn't
there.
look at it, but technically you were homeless. You're living in your car, right? And you probably didn't feel that way, like I'm not homeless, but you are. You like
Yeah,
don't have a place, so you gotta.
but I am.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you have
car
to.
doesn't
So
count.
it right, right. So
You took
me.
what you can, right? I mean,
Um, uh, I roll with the punches, man. No matter if it's good or bad.
yeah,
Like, it's lessons within it all, right?
always.
And so, at that point, didn't really want to be there anymore.
Right.
Certain things happen, and so I started looking for emergency assistance from the state of California.
Okay.
And so, with this being said, to be able to be seen at some of these places for this assistance, it's a long line. And if you don't show up at certain times, you won't be seen for an appointment to get in.
Because there's so many people waiting.
Right. So there was times where I literally had to sleep outside in line
To
at
make sure you get
1,
in
two
the line.
o'clock, 3 o'clock in the mornings
Yeah.
overnight to be seen at 8 a.m. the next day.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, people fighting in line, people doing like
Right.
a bunch of like stories for days about that
Right.
experience.
Right. Right.
And what ended up happening was, with me being familiar with that world of nonprofit and services and things like that, I knew how to communicate to these individuals that were working, right?
Yeah.
So I was able to have these conversations and explain and work my way in and get the services that I needed.
Right.
And with that being said, there was a process. So one, in order to get this housing, you had to go through a couple of phases. One, you would have to go stay in a hotel
To
that was
qualify, you mean?
to qualify, correct?
Right.
To qualify to get these other services, there's phases.
Got it.
So the first phase is emergency housing, which would be this hotel. So I was out in South LA, pretty much like South Bay is what they call it. Very industrial. So it's where the port is. So if you've seen during the pandemic where they would
Yeah.
be like, "Oh, the ports are clogged in California."
Yeah, that's where it
Well,
was.
I was living in that place. And let me tell you, Mitch, this place when I went in,
Mhm.
it wasn't the
That
best
wasn't the
place, man.
Ritz.
It was a little bit it was a little bit worse than the Bates.
Yeah, really. It just
Yeah,
so it's worse than that. You just don't get murdered.
and I'm painting, listen,
Well,
man,
you
I'm
could, I
painting these
guess.
pictures.
Yeah.
I'm painting this picture for you because I want you to understand like the experience I went through.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you go in, it's almost like this one room, it's
Yeah.
Matchbox.
Well, they give you a
You have a
bedroll
little
and you're in a
sink.
big open room, right?
Well, listen, you have a bed, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not the best bed,
You
but
have
it's
a
a bed,
room or is it a big
right?
open room
So it's just a room, just
Yeah.
one room, a box,
for
and
everybody?
you have a sink,
Yeah.
right?
Well, where's the sink?
The sink is on next to the wall by the door,
So
right? It's a
for the
very
whole
small
room?
sink for the whole room.
So one
Right?
sink for everybody in the room. How many beds were
No,
in the
no,
room?
no. Oh, so listen,
Oh, you
it's a
had your own
hotel.
room. Okay.
So it's a hotel.
Oh, so it was designed
Okay?
as a hotel. So everybody had their own room.
Everybody has their own room,
No roommate.
but the rooms are small,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
We'll say 12 by 12,
Right.
right?
But you can lock the
Room.
door at night. So nobody's gonna
You can
like
lock the
come in
door
and
at
take your
night.
stuff while
You
you're
can lock the
sleeping.
door at night,
Okay.
and there was like the sink.
Okay.
Well, my room in particular, right?
You left out something though. Where's the toilet?
That's community use, sir.
So it was
and the
not,
shower.
there was no toilet and the shower. No, nothing in the room.
Nothing in the room.
Okay.
Just the sink. Yeah.
At least it's in the
So
building.
this is yeah. So community everything, right?
Okay.
So when I go in to my room,
Yeah.
you know, there's graffiti, marker, you know,
Yeah,
all
I'm
that stuff
sure.
all over the
They
place,
all
right?
come and paint every time.
And then, you know, I look and there's one window in the room, but the window is half broken. And I'm on the first floor in South Bay in California.
Not the safest neighborhood.
Not the safest neighborhood,
No,
man.
okay.
And then on top of that, there
Yeah.
were dead bed bugs on the
Yeah, I'm
floor.
sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
Dead bed bugs on the bed.
Yeah.
Like it was
Then like maid service, they're coming to clean your room.
Yeah. Well, and the thing for me is, you know, I still have my car at this time.
Okay.
I get my blanket out of my car and I'll put it on top of the mattress after I strip it. Right.
Okay.
So I can have a clean.
But you got a hole in the window. It might be warmer than your car.
Right. So through the night, that's what I end up doing, going back into my car.
Yeah.
And there's some situations that happen outside that I caught, man. There was one time.
Sure.
Listen, and I'm just giving details, man, because like this experience is what people probably have not encountered before.
Right.
Like I'm in my car sleeping at 3:00 in the morning, and you know a prostitute knocks on my window asking for help because her pimp is trying to do something to her, and I'm like, listen, like I am not.
Look,
I am not
nothing to do with
anything.
this. Yeah,
like
I'm not
leave me
getting
alone.
shot because you need help. Or yeah, exactly.
You should have made better choices in life, I guess.
Yeah.
But I can't, like, I'm not getting into that. That's one thing that I don't do is get in somebody else's business when threats or something
Between you, his gun, and her. That's not where you want to be.
That's not me. Yeah. I felt sorry for her, but I'm like,
I know, but you can only do so much, right? You're not a superhero.
Right.
And I think this is a good story though, because everybody sees you now, you're well dressed, you're successful, they don't know what the backstory is, right? You know, what got how you got there.
Right. So, right. Yeah. So you come in, so you have a person like myself who had it all, right? And now I'm going through like this valley of a moment in life.
Yeah.
Right. Where I'm stripped of everything.
Psychologically, it must have been hard.
Yeah. It would mentally, physically, emotionally, you name it. Yeah. You put it all in this bowl.
Yeah.
Right. So I end up going through that phase. Second phase was the homeless shelter.
So they move you from the bug-ridden
So
hotel
I had to spend a week.
Shelter.
I had to spend a week at the hotel.
Okay. Oh, only a week.
Right.
Okay.
Only a week.
A lot happened in a week, though, it sounded like.
A lot can happen in a week.
Right.
So I spent a week in a hotel. Then I go back and then I'm relocated to a shelter on Western and Slauson in California. And for those who don't know, that's like called
Compton?
Crenshaw. That's called Crenshaw.
Right. Yeah, it's another area you hear about. Yeah.
Compton is better than Crenshaw.
It is. Wow.
Yeah.
And this is a homeless shelter.
In today's time.
Right.
I
understand. Time. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, you know, it's an old church.
Yeah.
Right. It's a church. Well, it's a church.
Right? You don't have a private room in a shelter, do you?
So no. So this is the setup for this particular shelter. So in the parking lot, in front of, if you want to call it dorm room building,
okay,
there was portable showers, right? Just like you see at the fair or something that you go to.
Yeah, like a porta-john, but it's a shower.
Right.
Okay.
And it was only 4 of those.
For how many people?
I'm going to say about 70 people.
Ugh, okay. So you're not getting a shower every day. There's no way.
You can. Well, the thing about it is what time you go.
Yeah, you got to plan it out so you know when nobody's going. You learn.
Right. Right. So what ended up happening was this. I shared a room with one huge room with 30 other guys. The women's room was across the hall. A
separate one, yeah.
Probably another 30, 40. Like it was a lot. And then there's 2 bathrooms for men for all like 30 of us.
Yeah, that would not go well for me.
Right. And the thing about it is, if you didn't get back in time, I think there was a 9:00 curfew for the shower. If you didn't get back by 9:00, then you're taking a bath in the sink.
Yeah,
right?
not today. Right.
They're locking the doors. So I'm in this shelter, and I'm a person who cares about my presentation and what I look like.
Obviously, right.
You're you're not gonna know that. You're not gonna look at me and be like, oh yeah, that guy's homeless, right?
Right. Yeah, you don't look like
You're
a
gonna
slump. You're gonna be nice dressed.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm like I have good clothes, like
Yeah.
I take care of them. I know how to press, like I know how to wash, like I know how to do all these things as man,
Right.
right? And so um people would tell me, man, you don't look like you belong here. And I'm like, dude, like
I don't.
I don't. But this is my situation right now.
Yeah.
But what that allowed
That
me
was
to
phase
do,
2, right?
that was phase 2.
It sounds backwards. It seems like you phase 1, you'd be living in a big room with 2 toilets and a shower. And then phase 2, you'd be in a private room with a sink. It doesn't,
Right.
this is not doing that.
But
way.
I think it's
Okay.
well, then we start talking about quality then, right?
There you go.
So if we're talking about quality, then
There's
it's
at least
going
more
the right way.
services there.
Because hey, listen, at least I can say I had a maid who came through and like vacuum my floor every day.
Yeah, so it wasn't
at the
so
shelter.
dirty. Yeah, it was a
That
little
they would
cleaner.
clean the bathroom,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
that's true.
I went through that phase,
right.
and the next phase 3, I would have to get a job, and they would help with a decreasing like 1 year worth of rent if I found a place, right? Phase
Like
3
a
is
subsidy, but it would go down each month
Right.
a little bit. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that was phase 3. So I was in the shelter for it was about 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
During that time, I was able to land a job at Joseph A. Bank
Yeah.
in El
we know
Segundo.
Joseph Bank. There's one in Westfield.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was working there. I was doing great. I had at that point had saved a little bit of money because I had no work at that point in time. Like during this whole time, like
Yeah.
I was not working. Like I was receiving government assistance for like
Yeah.
SNAP, food stamps, whatever you call it.
Whatever
like
you can get.
that's how I was surviving.
Right.
Right. And I got a job working for Joseph A. Bank. And during that time when I
In
saved
sales?
the money up.
Like
Yeah.
selling clothes for them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you
I was a
got to
wardrobe consultant.
Okay. That's right. Was that your first? It is your first like clothing retailer?
In California, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Prior to all of this, like I've been in and out of the industry for about 10 years plus.
Okay. So you were familiar with it. It wasn't like you're walking in with no resume.
Yeah. So from high school, I started working with Foot Action, Dillard's, Perry Ellis. Like
Yep.
I've worked all these
Sure.
different places.
Okay.
So I have the
you're
resume
familiar
for
with,
it.
Yeah, you have the resume.
I have the
Okay.
resume for it.
Right.
I have managerial experience. Like I'm
Right.
good to go.
They didn't ask you, do you have a house? That's not one of the criteria. So
No.
Good thing, right?
Because to your point, some places I told that to, and they
Never
didn't
called
even
you
hire
back.
me.
Yeah.
They wasn't trying to have it, man.
Right.
They wasn't having it.
Yeah.
And that's a shame, right?
Yeah. Right.
Because like I need money to live.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know.
First thing you're gonna do is get your own place when you can. You make
That's the mission. That's
Yeah.
the mission, right? And so I had gained some friends at this point. And one of my friends during this time, in order for me to get like back and forth to work, they rolled the dice on me and they bought me a motorcycle.
Nice.
So I have a motorcycle to travel.
Okay.
Right. Because at this time, the car, between me losing the job with the car,
Right.
at the employment specialist, the car got
Just ransacked.
taken away.
Oh,
Yeah.
They took. Okay.
Well, yeah. So
what kind of car was it?
Got repossessed. I
Oh,
had
yeah, because you couldn't pay it. You could make payments.
Right. Yeah.
course.
Well, I had a 2008 Infinity.
Well, at least it was a little more comfortable.
It was
wasn't like a Honda.
it was the M35, man. To
Yeah.
be
Oh,
exact.
wow. So it was a nice
It was the
car.
M35.
No wonder
Yeah.
you're sleeping in the car, not in the.
Fully
Yeah.
loaded, leather seats. Like I was
Oh,
doing
nice.
great, man.
Yeah.
So it got repossessed. By by the luck of the Lord, I'll say, universe, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Somebody rolled the dice and purchased me a motorcycle to get back and forth. And so I'm now working at Joseph A. Bank. I'm living at the shelter, going back and forth, get my money, and it's going great. I get enough money with me. And also I have experience in the real estate world. So I used to be a lease up consultant when I was in college.
Got it.
Right. So I worked at the place I lived when I was in college. I'm always like, so
you were like a leasing agent for the building and you lived there.
Right.
Got
exactly.
It. Right.
So now I know how to talk to landlords, etc. And so it was the challenge was this: finding people who were willing to take the voucher that the state was going to give for.
Right. Even though they're really not supposed to say no, they do.
Yeah.
They make up some other reason. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't want this kind of person living at my place.
It's like Section 8. We have that in New Jersey too. Nobody wants to take the vouchers, but you're not supposed to say no.
Right. And so, I finally end up finding a landlord who was open to it. It was in Inglewood, California. Let's go Rams.
There you go.
So I literally lived maybe like a mile from the stadium when it was being built. But I lived inside. It was like a side apartment of a garage. It wasn't even like it wasn't a real room. Right. Now I had a toilet and a sink this time in my room.
Well, that's good.
Right. And one mini window and a ceiling.
So there's like a garage behind a house that was converted to an apartment.
Well, it was actually the garage, and then there was like a little extension that was built
connected to the garage.
Right.
It wasn't even the garage.
Wasn't even the garage. It was something connected to it. And I had to walk, through the parking lot of the house and in this garage to go take a shower or go cook or do all of that. Right.
Yeah.
So that was my living situation. So I'm living there and I'm still working at Joseph A. Bank. So I'm like 5 months in, things are going great. And I'm like, like I'm well on my way. Well, one day I was actually meeting with a PR representative, Dwight Howard's publicist, actually, to be correct.
Okay.
And the reason how I met her is because my brother actually is a professional barber, and he does hair for Bobby Portis. And at the time, Dwight Howard was playing with Washington, right? And so they were up in LA playing. And so I went to go visit my brother.
Got it.
Now, I didn't tell my brother my situation at all. Like this is just the thing for me.
Right.
So I meet her anyway. So I'm having lunch with her, and I'm leaving, and I'm coming down, and a car just pulls out in front of me. Right, T-bone, head first into the windshield.
Wait, you're walking?
I'm riding a bike
feet?
on my motorcycle. On my motorcycle.
Well,
going home.
Worse than walking, yeah.
Right, going home. I'm on my motorcycle after meeting with her. He pulls out. You ever notice those cars that like to peek through traffic, stop and go, stop and go, stop and go? Yeah, he was that guy. Yeah. Right. I'm traveling southbound. Right, yeah. He's coming in from eastbound on the side residential street, major street going north and south. Guy just pulls out between traffic. All I hear is horns, hit the car, knocked unconscious, head first into the windshield. The story they told me, I catapulted 20 yards in the air. I rolled across the pavement for another 30 yards. On my final tumble, I finally gained consciousness, right?
You gained consciousness on my knees. Then? You didn't wake up in the hospital?
Right. No. So I wake up on my last tumble, right? And I roll up like this, and my knees on the ground, and I'm looking at the whole scene like this is a real movie scene where everything is just quiet, and then you hear the ring in your ear, and then everything just start coming to. You can hear people yelling and honking horns.
Yeah, it's like coming back.
So it's all coming back.
Holy.
And I get up. I just stand up.
Get up. That was probably a bad idea.
I stand up, and I'm just looking around, and people just coming to me like, hey, like you need to go over here and sit down. So I walk and sit down. So I literally walked away from this thing on my own. Right. So I had a fractured elbow, was taken to the hospital,
That's all you
fractured
had was
elbow,
a fractured elbow?
and
Okay.
I was diagnosed with post-concussion syndrome.
Yeah, I'm sure you banged the shit out of your head. You're lucky you didn't
Exactly.
die from a brain hemorrhage or, with an aneurysm or something.
Right. Right. So now the phase is this. Now I can't go back to work
Right.
because I'm on temporary disability.
Right. Which we know pays a lot.
Pays a lot.
Right.
I moved into a mansion in Beverly Hills.
Right. Exactly. I'm never working again.
Right.
Yeah.
What? Me go to work? No
Right.
way.
Oh man. People say that. Well,
So
he's disabled. He didn't have to work. I go, he ain't getting rich.
he ain't rich.
Yeah.
Tell you that
Yeah.
much.
Right.
So now I'm like, all right, how am I going to pay this rent?
Yeah.
Because it's not enough to pay rent.
Even the little shack that you lived in that was on
Even
the
the
corner
little
of
shack deal I got.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's charging $1,000 for that thing.
Good Lord.
Right. And
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this?
Right.
So anyway, I'm trying to figure it out. There's no way. And so now I gotta go.
Do you remember how much you were getting from disability? It was a couple $100. That was it.
It was like I think it was around like 230 every 2 weeks, biweekly.
Yeah. So less than $500. So less than half of your
$500.
rent. Forget about food and all that other stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And so now the bike is totaled.
Oh yeah.
I
Right. Because
don't-
the bike you didn't have any payments on. That was fine, but the bike's gone. No
but
insurance,
it's gone.
right?
No transportation. Well, the insurance covered the bike. Like, that's fine. They covered it all.
Well, didn't you get money from that?
Not at that point, but
Okay.
after a while,
Okay.
it has to go through a process.
Yeah, they process the whole thing. Yeah, right.
Because you have to go through therapy, you have to do x-rays because it
Right.
bills the case, right?
Yeah, of course.
So my
they're going
attorney,
after the other guy's insurance companies.
Exactly. Lucky for me, the guy that I had a relationship with about the motorcycle, he knew
Good PI
an
attorney.
attorney that's in Beverly Hills, right?
Contingency and takes the whole thing. Right?
I'm in Cedars-Sinai, the best hospital it is in LA, and I'm getting all this treatment. He gives me, everybody. Man, I'm seeing a bone specialist for the elbow. I'm going to PT, and I'm going to see a neuropsychologist.
Right. Well, it all comes down to what kind of insurance the other guy has. So if the guy has really good insurance, he's got an expensive car.
Yeah. Well,
guy's the limit for you.
Yeah. Well, the guy didn't have. That's yeah. Anyway, that's a different topic too, man. It was okay.
Yeah, wasn't great.
I guess when you don't have anything is great, man.
Right.
So you just, you go with it.
Right.
And you got to go through the whole process, and then you have to file the paperwork, and you got to it's a long process, man.
Yeah, then they want to see their experts see you, and you got to see it's a
process, man.
Yep.
It's a process.
Yep.
So it's not instant that I get this money from the wreck, right? So I'm going through this phase, and now I'm like, okay, what do I do? And what I end up doing was I disguised my homelessness by letting people know, after this wreck, now I'm on this family and friends tour because I've seen my life flash in front of me and things like that. And, now I'm looking at life differently, and I need to go see people, which that was a thing. Right. It's I need to be more grateful for the things that I've had in the past, and that was one of the main lessons was that.
Okay.
So
then you can couch surf a little bit too.
Right. And that was it.
But
it was
that siren in the back, you probably heard some banging around here too. I got people here making noise. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. This is me living in Old City of Philly.
Now, when you were moving around seeing people, were they all, you said you really didn't have any family out west, right? So you had to come back to Oklahoma and that in the Midwest?
So I never went back to Oklahoma. What I ended up doing, I went up to Chicago. I went to Dallas. I went to New Orleans. In some places I went, I didn't even know anybody at all. I would fly there. I flew on Spirit, which were dirt cheap tickets to get to places. And then I would get these dirt cheap Airbnbs or dirt cheap, small hotels to stay in when I go, because I was looking for a new place to put my flag.
Got it.
And I was in a very dark space, really trying to figure out what is this? Like, what is my life going to be? Like, what's happening? Like,
Right.
what is this?
Yeah.
Right. And I'm a very spiritual person. And, I asked the universe, like, show me a sign. Like, where am I supposed
So
to
you
be?
knew it wasn't in LA. You had to get out of there.
Now I had to go.
Yeah.
Like,
It
I had to.
wasn't happening for you there.
It wasn't it. Because I believe there was a wrong intention when I went to LA.
Yeah.
It wasn't
You were
to
there for
go
the wrong
back
reasons. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Like giving up everything in Tennessee and going back home to Oklahoma City, I was fine. I was
Right.
great. Went
That
back
was a
home.
good reason. Yeah.
It was a good reason. LA was not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So end up going to New Orleans, a couple of places like this, but I ended up in Philadelphia at one point. And
just because you said, you know what? Now I'm going to go to Philadelphia. Like you were just picking different cities.
So yeah. And so the thing about Philadelphia is this: back in the, I want to say early 2000 when I was touring, I came through Philadelphia and I performed at Time Restaurant and I performed at World Cafe.
Okay.
During my tour.
Okay.
And so I remembered Philadelphia. I remembered Old City. I remembered like going through Century City.
It was a good experience.
Center City. Like, yeah, like it was great. Like I was well received here for my music. Like it was great. I loved it. It's very, very soulful, very homey feel. Like it's great. Right. So I'm here and I'm like, this is the place. The message comes. Like this is the place.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, all right.
Now you're still not working, right? You got some money from the settlement, a little bit of disability, right? But you're not there anymore. So how are you getting your disability payments? You're not, right?
Right.
Okay.
So they're done.
Right.
They're done. So now I'm here and I wake up one morning and I'm searching online of like what are the top like luxury men retail stores in Philadelphia.
Right.
Because
I
wanted
that business.
I knew that business and it's quick to get into.
Yeah.
Retail is always there, man. It will forever be there.
Yeah, right. Of course. Whether it's online or in person, people are, of course. I think it's going to be online, offline. I think you'll go to stores in the future and they'll be like maybe 1, 2 shirts. You try the clothes on and then it's at your door like in 2 or 3 hours or tomorrow morning. They don't have to keep big inventory. I think that's what's going to happen. But for people listening, they got to remember, right? You get to Philly, you've been traveling, you have very little money, you have no motorcycle anymore, you have no car, you got your feet.
Got my feet. Right. And the transit system, the train.
Okay. The public transport, you learn a lot about public transportation.
You sure do. And you know shortcuts and ins and outs. Right. So I end up doing that research online one Sunday morning.
At what? Like the library? Walking around with a laptop.
No. Yep. Exactly. So no to the laptop. Right. I had a phone though. Because this is around now. We're in the world of 2019.
So smartphones, right. So you can do that on a phone.
So if you 2019, right? So you go from 2009 from when I like the transition.
But how do you have a phone? It must be like a prepaid phone because you don't have an address. They can't send you a bill.
Right. Well, when it's you can pay online. From
oh right,
your phone.
Okay. But what? Don't you just put an address on the account?
Well, it's still I kept my old Inglewood address.
So they didn't know
for the longest time.
Yeah, so they didn't know.
I still had a relationship with the landlord. So I would call.
You said, listen, any mail comes for me.
Yeah, and like when I wasn't traveling, like I would go back to LA and I would stay in Airbnbs or whatever because that's where everything was. Right. Because I still had like a little storage of clothes and things and that was a point in time too, man. Like I lived inside of my storage container a few times.
Well, like a room, there's no windows in there though.
Exactly, man. So this is inside of one of the like temperature control.
Yeah, right. Ones where you go inside and you
have to have a code to get in.
Right.
Things like that.
They don't check. They don't know that you're in there.
There's a story about this one. And then we'll get back to Philadelphia.
Yeah, so the Philly's a good story.
Yeah, so I'm up in this 5x5 storage container, and so I'm on the second level, right? So you have a bottom level and you have like a top level,
Right.
So you have to use one of like those like flight ladders, right?
What do you mean a bottom level, top level? You mean they're stacked on top of each other? There wasn't like a balcony that you could walk on?
Now, man, because it's inside. It's inside.
Yeah, but if I'm using that storage thing, how do I get things up there?
You have to use the flight ladder.
And you got it. Okay. What happens if it's heavy?
Take it up a ladder.
Have like a lift and you put the stuff in or something?
Nah, man, you're just out of luck.
Okay. Holy shit. Where do they have these facilities? Okay.
So yeah. So, you know, I'm sleeping in this 5x5 storage container.
Yeah, there's no bathroom in there. There's no sink.
No, because the bathroom. So here's the thing, man. I'm industrious,
a lot of people
man.
doing this, or you the only guy sleeping in there?
I'm the only guy in here.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm the only guy in here, right?
Because you're not supposed to be doing this.
So yeah, because at 9 o'clock, the door's locked. Okay. They lock from the outside. You got to have a code to get in, but even with your code, like it
doesn't work at a certain time. So if you left, you couldn't come back in.
Right. So even if I leave the first door, there's two doors. So there's a door to the entrance of the inside of
the big warehouse, right?
And then you have like the hallway, waiting room area, and then you have an exit entrance door.
Right.
So in between, there's a restroom, right?
Right.
And a water fountain.
Okay.
So when I would leave,
the first door,
I would have to. The first door, I would have to prop something in that door.
Right, because if it's locked, you're not going back in.
Exactly. So I would do that, and then I would go up and I would go sleep. And so one morning, I woke up to a guy moving the ladder from me.
And he doesn't know you're in there.
No, he does know I'm in there.
Oh, he does.
He does know. He's been an asshole.
Ah, okay.
So he starts to move it, and I hear it, and I wake up, and I'm like, "Yo, man, like, what are you doing?" He was like, "Oh, you're not supposed to be sleeping in here, yada yada yada." And I'm like, "Listen, man, like, bring the
ladder back
and let me get down."
Yeah.
No, man, no. So you know what I did? I jumped down because my adrenaline.
10 feet, right?
Yeah. Look, maybe 12.
Okay.
Maybe 12.
But you're young, so yeah.
Yeah. So I jumped down, man, and I run at the guy, and I'm like, "Man, like, what are you doing?
Right.
Like, why are you?" So that's
trying to make it in life. What's this guy care? He's give a shit. Does he
like,
run the place,
man? No, he doesn't.
He just rents another place,
just like me.
Yeah,
just like me.
People are so fucked up. Okay.
Yeah. So fast forward back in Philadelphia. So I did the research, found a couple of places. And I come across this one place called Henry Davison, which is a custom boutique store in Rittenhouse, which at the time I did not know was the most affluent community.
Right, Rittenhouse Square or something, right?
Right, right. I'm a homeless guy, and I'm like, I'm gonna work here. Like, this is where I'm gonna work.
Right.
Out of all of 6 places I found, I was like, this is the place. So Monday morning,
you know, they don't put the expensive custom men's clothing store in a bad neighborhood. They got to put it where the people can afford the clothes.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
It's not a surprise.
So I'm like, you know, I'm going for it. I had one good suit on me. I kept that, and it had a hole in the crotch.
Well, they couldn't see that.
Couldn't see it. I knew it was there. So that caused other anxieties or whatever the case, but it did. But you know, once again, I know how to keep my things in great condition and take care of them and be very presentable.
You know how to present.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's key.
That's what a stylist does for people. Right.
Right.
So you just walked in?
So no, I called them. I called them, and I just inquired if they were doing any hiring or looking to expand their team, because the team was small. And so they were like, sure. Like, when you want to set up? Now, this is 2 days for me to go back to LA. I got 2 days.
Why? Because your stuff's in LA?
Because my stuff is in LA.
Your suit is in LA.
No. I have the suit with me.
Okay.
But I'm living still in LA as I'm traveling. Yeah. Doing all this traveling, I still have stuff in LA.
Right. But why do you have to go? Oh, this is to start working for them. You had to get your stuff.
So here, let me pause for a second. So 2 days before I had to leave Philadelphia to return back to Los Angeles to stay. Like, remember, I'm just couch surfing. I'm going around.
Okay.
Right. So my days are up in Philadelphia and I have
Oh,
to
so
go
you're
back to
leaving
the
Philly for
Airbnb.
good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. After the message said this is the place. Right.
Right.
So
You're gonna give up.
Monday, right. So Monday morning I give the cold call. So he's like, yeah, yeah, come on in. So I went in Tuesday, the next day. So the day before going back to LA.
Wednesday, you're supposed to
And
go back. Wednesday.
Right.
Okay.
So now I'm like, all right, great. I'm gonna get this stuff together. Like I still have the photo of myself. I took a selfie the day I went in for the interview, right?
Yeah.
I still have it and I look at it from
Right.
time to time.
You should, right?
Right. And so I go in, I got this hole in my crotch, but I go in and I'm cool, but I'm sweating at the same time. Right. And then I see the guy, and the first thing the guy does is he compliments me on my suit. I said, I'm in here, right?
Yeah.
And here I'm like, I'm in.
Well,
This is the opportunity.
Yeah. So
right?
you compliment people.
But I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, man, he's in all custom everything. Like,
right,
Jesus,
I'm sure.
like,
To the nines.
this guy's money. Like,
yeah,
he looks like money, right? And I'm looking at myself like, yeah, if you only knew. Like, this is a Joseph A. Banks suit, and right.
Yeah.
right.
That's the key, right?
Right. So, he compliments me on my fit, man. We sit down, we have a conversation, great conversation. He takes my resume, he folds it up and he puts it in his pocket and he says, I'll connect you with the owner of the company and we'll be in touch.
And you're leaving tomorrow.
And I'm leaving tomorrow. Right.
Okay.
So I'm like, all right, cool. I'll look forward to speaking with you. Right. And the funny thing is, when he folded up that resume and put it in his pocket, it made me question, because really I've been a hiring manager before.
Yeah.
Right. And I've never folded up anybody's resume and put it in my pocket. It's almost disrespectful in a sense.
Yeah. It's almost like, thanks. We'll get back.
Yeah. Hey, yeah.
Nice kid.
Right. Yeah. He was good. Right. So I'm like, all right, great. So I return to LA. Yeah. And I'm at an Airbnb hostile situation where there's like 5 of us in a room. Rent is, daily rent is like $30 a night. I can do that.
You can do that on $230 every 2 weeks.
Yeah, right. So I'm living inside of the Airbnb, and the owner gives me a call 3 days after I return. And so we have a conversation, goes great. Then he connects me with his sales manager.
He's got no idea you're in LA.
Yes, he does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's fully aware. He's fully aware.
Okay.
Right. And I told him I was like, yeah, I'm looking to relocate to Philadelphia. And I'm looking for work, and this is my experience. And this is, I give him the whole rundown. Yeah. And then he connects me with a sales manager, have a conversation with him. So I get an approval from everyone. Right. Yeah. So then they purchased me a ticket from LA to Philadelphia.
They paid for you to come.
They paid for me to come for an in-person interview.
Nice. Was that your idea or their idea?
His idea.
Oh, good.
Because I told him, I was like, I'm in LA, man. Like, I'm back in LA. Like, I was there. He was like, okay, well, here, we'll do this. And he bought me an airline ticket. Okay. Another universe working, man.
Yeah. Hey, it's all the signs. Was it working. Spirit, or was it a good airline?
No, man, this was actually Delta.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Living large.
Living large, man. Right. I'm like, yeah, this is what it's like. Right. I feel like I'm moving up in the world.
Yeah. Like, right?
Like somebody buy me a ticket
to do
an interview.
Seats.
I've never had anybody to purchase me a flight to do an interview, man.
That's usually large corporate stuff. They don't. Guy has a custom men's clothes. They're gonna fly out, but he obviously saw something in you.
Right. Just through conversation. Yeah. And I guess from what the hiring manager or his assistant at the time, I guess I should say, thought something was in me. He thought I looked presentable, or maybe, me going in to be a part of this company would create some culture in the company, because there was not any at this time. Got it. With the team. Right. So they seen opportunities, right?
Yeah.
Which I look at that way too.
Mostly.
Yeah. Well,
Older white guys
dude,
that don't even
nah,
understand
man,
fashion.
they're actually Jewish guys.
Really?
Yeah.
Were they like short and kind of not too
One
stylish?
one
Or were they
was
stylish?
one. No, well, listen, man. Both of the guys, listen, man, very stylish individuals, man. They
Okay.
they take custom seriously.
Okay, good.
Like they are
Yeah, I
on
mean, look,
point.
the
I'll
garment
give it to them.
industry was all Jewish. What, back in New York in the days?
Yeah. So the guys were, not talking, anything negative about them, man.
Right.
They were on point. They were on point. They
Okay.
just didn't have culture
Got
in
it.
in the work environment.
Right.
And I think they seen opportunity,
It's a little
just
important
like
in 2019.
just a little bit,
Yeah.
right? Which even for me, I was like, man, maybe this is opportunity. I can probably bring that, my
The whole
culture,
marketplace they
my
can't
community.
access. Yeah. Younger
I can tap into
people,
that.
ethnic. Yeah.
I can do all of that for you.
Right.
And I think that's what he's seeing, right?
Got it.
So we had a conversation at the interview. The job that he offered me the position, right? The position was 100% commission.
Of course it was.
Of course it was.
Right. No draw, nothing.
Just 10% on sales. That's it.
That was it. So if you made no sales, you made no money.
No money.
And we all know you go buy a couple of suits, some shirts, what do you spend? Maybe custom shirts are 100, 150 bucks a piece, custom suit,
Man,
800 to
I didn't
1500,
have,
right?
yeah. Listen, I had 2 suits to my name.
Right. No, but I mean, you have a customer comes in. What does he spend? A couple of grand?
Well, the customers that I work with, they spend anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000 on a suit.
Okay, but that's $200 to $400 in commission. That's not much.
Right.
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 I mean, it's more than you were getting.
Not
You're only
much.
getting 230 every 2 weeks. So that was more, but
Right.
still.
Right.
Okay.
So if I could, so even for me, like I really like I disguised and just start being a little bit more casual, but stylish. Because I only had 2 suits.
Right. You can't wear it right every day. They'd be like, wait, I think Gregory was in the same suit. What did he wear the same suit yesterday, 2 days ago?
So I kept it stylish, but very
mix and match and make it look like you have a huge wardrobe.
Exactly. Yeah. I know how to do that. That's my specialty.
Yeah. That's what's great about being a man. You can like mix stuff up and women
and
wear a dress and then everyone knows they wore the dress. That's it.
Right. 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 So end up having this conversation. Thank God for my negotiation skills that I learned over time.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing, with the emergency housing, you get this decrease. And same thing with him. He offered me a salary base of 60 grand a year.
Nice.
And then
to kind of wean you into commission.
6 months in, it goes down to 0.
Okay.
Right.
So fine. You got 6 months of running time.
I got 6 months of running time.
And it wasn't like you owed him the money back. It was non-recourse, right? So if you failed, you didn't owe him 60 grand.
Right.
You took a chance.
Exactly.
Okay.
He took a chance on me.
Okay.
Which I'm grateful and respect him for that till this day.
Right? I'd love to know what he was thinking at the time when he brought you out, what he saw in you. And it's probably totally different than what you thought was going on. You know?
Probably.
But we'll never know. So okay.
We'll never know.
If your boss is listening, call me. We'll do an interview.
Right.
So but that gave you some room, right? So now you soon
it gave me some room.
Apartment, whatever.
Right. So now I'm like, okay, let's get this. Let's start building up. Now, keep in mind, not having money, my credit is shot.
Right. Yeah. So if it's qualifying for an apartment, they're going to check you out. It's not going to be good.
Jeez, man, not at all. So I'm living. So even during this whole time, I'm living in South Philly. Yeah. I'm on 24th and Morris.
Yeah. South Philly that's what I call it, South Philly. Yeah.
So I'm not in the best neighborhood, but hey, I'm renting out a room in an Airbnb and I'm going to work.
Yeah.
I have shelter,
gainful employment food. And you got shelter.
Man, I have a place to shower. I can earn.
Right.
Like it's the greatest thing on earth for me.
Yeah.
I'm like,
look where you came from.
I am finally out of this hole.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm in within my first couple of months.
This is only a few years ago, right? You said 2019?
2019. Yeah. November to be exact.
Okay. So we just hit
So
2 years back in November.
So November 2019, I'm out here and I'm working. So my first couple of months, I sell about 20,000 in sales, right?
Okay.
So
Just from guys
I'm
walking in, or you out there working and
no,
networking and meeting people?
me going out, me making phone
Got it.
calls,
Right.
like the
Right.
whole
You're not going to make
shebang.
money if you just
Right.
wait for people to walk into the store. They don't know you.
Right. Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Got to build a clientele.
So I'm building my book of business. Things are starting to kind of like ease up for me. There's hope, in the new job, in the new position,
Yeah.
in this whole new world, because I never worked in something in that type of environment before. Never. Right. I never worked with affluent individuals like that before.
Right. There's a lot of hand holding, a lot of networking, a lot of working your clients, right? It's not like you just like retail.
There's a lot of relationships. There's a lot of relationships.
That's what people want when they're paying that kind of money for custom stuff.
That's
they want
what
to know,
it's based off
their
of.
stuff. You don't have to,
So listen, this is my thing. So the guy I was working for, just to give you a handle on who this guy is.
Uh-huh.
His dad was the right-hand man of Ed Snyder.
Okay. Who's Ed Schneider? I don't know.
So Ed Snyder used to own the Phillies. The Flyers.
Uh-huh. Sure.
Right.
Got it. Okay. Not a poor guy.
He's no longer here. Yeah.
Right.
But his dad had the relationship with him. So you can imagine what kind of circle he's in.
Yeah. Those are the people you want to be in for custom clothes, right? I mean, they buy the stuff.
Hey, man, $15,000 for a suit, no problem.
Right. Of course.
Like he's doing that kind of business.
Yeah.
I don't have that. I'm new to Philly. I don't have friends, don't have family. And Philadelphia is a tough place to crack into.
It is.
If you don't know anybody. Same thing with Jersey. I think the thing that it is,
I think it's true everywhere. You got to work it,
Yeah. You got to get in and do it, right?
Yeah.
You got to put in the work. You got to meet the people. You got to build the trust. They got to know who you are.
Yeah.
And this is the main thing that I really know about this side of the world with New Jersey and Philadelphia. You have to prove that you can play. If you're not playing, nobody's going to come to your games.
No, right. They're not. Nobody's feeling sorry for you. Nobody's doing it out of pity. You got to grab them and bring them in. No question about it.
You got to perform.
Yeah.
Right. So, with that being said, I'm trying to work my way in, trying to make it happen. A little challenging, because the circle that I have to be in are people that are here.
Yeah, it takes a while to get into those circles.
Versus people here and here, right?
Yeah, those guys are spending 200 to 400, not 2,000 to 4,000.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's easy to find those guys.
How do I get to these people though?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm trying to navigate that world and understand how it all works, and where do these people hang out at, and what are these people what is this, right? So I'm navigating. 4 months later, guess what comes?
Yeah. March
COVID.
2020. Bingo. Stores closed. You mean a custom men's high-end clothing store was not an essential business? I can't imagine why they would not treat it like it's essential.
That's the same thing that I'm thinking, man.
How are you going to look good? You got to go on Zoom. You're at home. You look like a slump.
You need us.
The world going, right?
You need us.
Exactly.
This is essential. Exactly. Garments are essential.
Well, I'll tell you something. It was essential for you.
It was.
Yeah, right.
It was.
Holy shit.
And so I was able to ride out the PPP era, right?
Got it. So that he was able to get PPP to pay you guys, keep you going.
So keep this in mind when this comes. So now I'm down to zero from the 6 months, right? So
but that's in the pandemic already. So right? You start in November, December, January, February, March, April. The end of April runs out.
I'm out.
Okay.
So now I'm receiving $7.25 an hour from the PPP.
That's what they get. That's what you get, minimum wage.
Yep. That's what I got.
And that's because what is that, an 8 hour day?
Because I wasn't on salary.
So it's like an 8 hour day you get.
Yep. So all I was doing, I was taking all his files.
$250 a week, roughly.
I was taking all his files that he had accumulated over the past 6 or 7 years and just calling people, checking in.
Former customers.
Yeah. Right. That was my job. As well as trying to find people to purchase garments from.
Forget about it.
Forget
Right.
about it. Forget
People didn't
about
know
it.
they were going to go. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
No,
Even the rich people, well, they're not wearing anything. They're not going anywhere. Right. So,
we're at the house, man.
right.
We're not doing
Exactly. I don't need a
anything.
$15,000 suit.
No.
Yeah.
But there were some guys who needed to pick up stuff. They needed to return. Like there was still some
Some
transactional
activity. Right.
happening, right?
Okay.
So there came a time where I was like, you know what? Like this is about to end. PPP is about to get out of here, and it doesn't make sense for me to stay. Like it's not beneficial for neither one of us to have this,
Right.
right? So another dark moment in my life. After coming out of one 5 months prior,
Yeah.
here I am again at the gate. Like what am I gonna do? Like what is this?
And this wasn't
Right.
like you made a bad decision and you followed a girl out to LA. This was like our whole life beating the shit out of everybody. We all lost due to no fault
Right.
of our own, except for some stupid ass virus.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm now, I'm it's almost like I was rehabilitated in a sense, right?
Right.
Like I was like, oh yeah, I'm making all this money, but now it's like
Right.
deflated dreams, right?
Yeah. But it
And
was
so
happening to everybody, right? So it was a little bit better in terms of there was a little camaraderie with, I was the same way. I had no business. My clients
Yeah.
or business owners are all closed. Some of them never opened up again. I'd take PPP money too. For months, I was
Yeah.
on Zoom like you, talking to people. I
Yeah.
don't know what the hell I was doing.
yeah. Yeah. And the thing for me is this, like I didn't have a home that I could call my own, but I
Right.
had a room,
Yeah.
right? I didn't have a car, I'm walking.
Yeah. Public
Like there's
transport.
things that I didn't have. Like
Yeah.
there's things that like I just didn't have that even affect me even more.
Yeah.
Especially all right, you come out 5 months of this transition, right? You go get a job and you're doing great. 5 months later, you're back into the same position almost. Like you don't have a home. I'm still homeless at this point.
Right. Can't get a
because
car.
Can't get a car. I
Right.
can't afford an apartment.
Right.
Well, I can, but the credit's not good enough to get one
Right.
because it was shot during the time I was homeless.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like I'm fighting through all of this mental space, man, at this time of like,
Yeah.
what is
That's
what's
why there was
like,
a lot
what
of
is my
mental
life?
problems during, it was a lot
It
of
was a
mental
lot.
health
It
issues
was
for
a
everyone. You're questioning
Absolutely.
everything. Why me? Why does life do this to me?
Yeah.
It's
And
hard.
and this is my thing. Like I understood what was happening. I knew the process. Like I'm
Right.
fully like I'm tuned into it. Like I
Yeah.
understand it. And I'm content. Like I understand what was happening. My thing was questioning what am I gonna do now?
Right.
But this is also like it triggered more trauma, past trauma
Brought it
from
up.
when I was homeless. Because
Yeah.
now I'm like, man, will I become homeless out on
Yeah. I
the
don't want
street
to go
again?
back to that again.
Like
Right.
so you got to think about all these trigger
Yeah.
points, man, that
Right.
I'm dealing with now, versus what somebody's going through who has a 6-bedroom home.
Right. They're
And a
not
couple of
thinking they're
kids
going to
in
be
the car.
homeless. Right.
No, man, they're not thinking that way. Me,
Right.
I'm thinking like, shit, man, am I gonna like end up back in the same predicament that I was in just 5 months ago?
Right.
Right?
It's hard.
Just
Yeah.
5 months ago.
Right.
5 months ago.
Yeah.
I'm not even fully healed mentally.
Right. You were just
yet.
getting started.
I'm just getting started.
Yeah.
So this comes again, and I'm back in this dark space of really trying to figure out what the answer. Show me a sign.
Now it's like
Like,
spring of 2020, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, what's happening? What's going on? So I decided to separate. The day that I decided to separate from the
company.
previous employer,
Got
right?
it.
I had a doctor from Baltimore contact me and wanted to do a complete wardrobe makeover.
How did he know who you were?
A referral came through.
Okay. A guy who knew you had met, told him, Gregory's the guy, call him.
Yes.
Okay.
So this guy literally, he carried me for a year.
Really? Wealthy
with the
doctor.
work that I was doing with them. Yeah. I think I made off of working with him, I made close to like $8,000.
Okay. And he looked good.
Yeah. Like he's done his thing, man. Like,
Right.
like it's, yeah.
So
Because
he
like
hired you basically to be his personal stylist and to go out and to take him and find stuff and get his wardrobe.
He
in
did
order.
custom. He did off the rack. He did shoes. He did underwear.
But you chose
he
it
did
all.
socks. Right.
Got it.
So we went through that process.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? Like, maybe I can do this on my own.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need this company.
No.
Right. Granted, it was only $8,000, but that was enough to keep me afloat.
For a little while, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't need a store. You go all the stores. You can make contacts with all kinds of custom guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so pick the best shirts, pick the best suits, the best socks, whatever.
Yeah. So during that time, like I made these partnerships with these different retail stores, Jersey, Philly, King of Prussia. I just start collaborations. I'm all about collaborations. Yeah. Right. So you use that same I use the same blueprint that I use in the music world, in the community engagement world, and I just applied it to the business world. Right. Same blueprint. Yeah. Let's build relationships. And how can I help you? Like, how can I bring you money with my clients? Yeah. Like, what is this transaction? What does this look like for us?
Yeah. Well, look at all those collabs that they're doing in the fashion industry. The sneakers have logos on them for branding. You know, Supreme does a thing with Krispy Kreme, and they make a sneaker that looks, you've seen it. All the kids sleep out to get this stuff.
Right. Right. So I was like, well, let me apply this to my business method. Right. So I did that, and I was able to develop a lot of them. Ralph Lauren, Charles Tyrant, also Scotch and Soda, Rag and Bone, like all these different places.
Right. Well, they want to move their stuff into different circles, right?
Yeah. Dan Maroney over in New Jersey.
Yeah. They'll make deals with you all day long.
Right. Yeah. And so I'm bringing clients. So at this point, like, I'm starting to kind of drop some things in with him. And then I got another client came through who was like an insurance guy, right? He wanted to update himself. So he was my second client.
Got it.
Right.
Now you get a little momentum, right? Little rolling.
Then I'm working with a CPA guy who owns his own company, right? And so now it's starting to kind of bing. And I'm like, yes, I can do this like on my own. Yeah. And so I was home one day, and there was an entrepreneurship hackathon that came across my feed with 24-hour notice. Right. It was hosted by Thomas Jefferson University, Jefferson Health, and the city of Philadelphia.
Okay.
And so this Philly Rise Up entrepreneurship hackathon was for emerging entrepreneurs in communities of color.
Okay.
So
you're talking Black, Hispanic.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Right. So I applied for it with 24 hours notice.
Okay. Because you just heard about it, right?
I just heard about it. Right. I just heard about it.
Yeah.
And deadline was the next morning.
Right. And what did you have to do? How did you have to apply?
There was there was 17 questions.
Okay.
That they asked about the business.
Got it.
So I just answered them.
You remember what you said?
I don't. I would have to go back and look at the application, man.
Right, of course.
Because I think I was just in that moment, right? I was in that moment, and it needed to get done.
Right.
Right. It needed to get done. And I was like, I'm going to do this, because the grand prize was $10,000.
Nice.
To start a business.
That's like another client.
That's a nice incentive to me to fill out a piece of paper.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess that you did get it, right?
So listen, hear me out, man. So hear me out, man. You got to let me finish.
I know, I'm like on the edge of my seat, and then I call and you don't even pick me up. Okay, go ahead.
Right. So check this out. So 17 questions. I submit the on the deadline.
Okay.
Submitted at 10 o'clock the next morning. Mitch, it was the wrong application, man.
What do you mean?
It was the wrong application.
It was
so there was four different like
things that they were doing.
Things you can apply for, right? Emerging, like businesses who've been around for like 5+ years.
Oh, so you chose the wrong application, submitted it for the entrepreneurial one. It was the wrong application.
Versus the emerging. So I contact support. Yeah. And I'm like, listen, I submitted the wrong application. Can you please like send me the new one? And they did.
When's the deadline at this point?
Well, it was like the deadline had passed.
Okay. Why should that stop you?
Right. Yeah, I don't care. Let me
Right.
contact him anyway. I'm like, listen, because this is like, once again, this is a message. Like, I was asking, what is the sign? What is the next move? What am I supposed to do? Right. So I fill it out, wrong application. Lucky enough, the universe said, I'll give you another chance. So I filled out the application, submitted it. 24 hours later, Mitch, I was notified that I was a finalist.
Okay, which means how many, that you're down to how many?
So come to find out, it was 17 of us in this bracket.
Okay.
Right.
That's
17
better
of
odds
us.
than it was before.
Better than probably what it was before.
Right. Hundreds, probably thousands.
Probably hundreds,
Yeah.
right? Because everybody's probably trying to get this money, right?
Right. Of course.
So then they respond and say, hey, you will be doing a business pitch presentation in front of 3 judges.
Yeah, I would think
20
now it's going to get serious. They're not just going to give you 10 grand for you answered 17 questions. That's just
Nope,
to weed you out.
That's to weed you out.
Right. Okay.
And
had you ever done this before? Like that type of a presentation, a pitch thing? You're a good salesman. You're good on your feet.
I've never pitched for money.
Right.
Right. Now, I have done presentations at universities. I've done presentations at certain events. I've done speaking engagements. So I'm fine with speaking in front of people.
Right.
Right. I've had a little experience with PowerPoint, enough
to get by,
enough to get me by.
Right.
Right. So I'm like, all right, I can do this. But they're like, you need X, Y, and Z. You need market research. You need target market. You need like, what is your business summary? Like, what is your method? Like, I was like, what is all it is? So I thought you just, what?
Where's
what
the
is
10,000? Yeah.
What is this verbiage?
You didn't know what this was, right?
I don't understand this business jargon. So I'm like, okay, let me do some research. Let me figure out what's happening with this.
Yeah, it didn't deter you. You didn't say, "Oh, screw this, I'm not going to do it." No, you're like, "I'm going to figure this out."
$10,000 is a
right.
Nice
it's a real incentive
to do a pitch.
Right. And so you figure out what's the worst that can happen. You can't be worse off than you are now. Right.
I can't be.
Right.
That's it. I can't be.
Right. It's not like you had to quit your job to do this. There was no job, so you're out there looking for people anyway.
So I'm out here, man. I'm fishing. I'm fishing anyway.
So you got nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. And I think, you know what? I think that's the worst kind of person to approach or be in a duel with, is a person who's
got nothing to lose. Oh, there's no question about that, because that means he's willing to, fall on his own sword. It doesn't matter. So,
hey, whatever I got to do,
that's dangerous.
Right. But I'm a guy with standards and morals and values, man.
Okay. Yeah. Nothing illegal.
Yeah. So I end up pulling an all-nighter like you did in college, right? You grab some pizza, you grab some beer, and you start researching, and you start putting things together. And like, I did all of that, right? And so what came to me during this time of creating this business was like, how can I take all my transferable skills into what I'm doing now,
right?
Of where I want to proceed to do. How can I help?
And the business was to build a custom stylist business where you're a personal stylist for wealthy individuals who can't shop. This is the thing, Mitch. I'm willing to help humanity, right? That's now broad. I have price points. Right.
Now, if these individuals can afford this price point, then so be it.
Right.
Right. So there's levels to this, right?
Obviously, you're not going to live in a car again and in a bed.
No,
you're done with that.
And I'm not going to charge like, $50 an hour just to do this, right?
No way.
So I created packages in my head of what I would serve, right? Good. And what they would get out of this. Right. But the moral base of the business was two-pronged, right? So it's one, how can I help empower these individuals from a psychological standpoint that also connects with authentic expression through creativity of a sartorial style, right? Yeah. Using fashion psychology, color psychology, etc.
Yeah, when you look good, you feel good, you're confident, I understand.
Right. So because it impacts all the cognitive, behavior, emotional, all of it, right? And then how can I also economically make an impact? in the community during this time, right? What makes sense? How can I help? Right? How can I help the world?
Right.
How can I help the people in need? Right.
Yeah, don't forget one of the people was you.
One of those people was me. So I had to make sure that my time was going to be paid for.
Right.
But I also looked at like what people were challenged with.
Yeah.
Which was all the mental issues, right? Anxiety, depression, like all of this. And what better way, right, to boost yourself is to help yourself the way you look.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. You feel good in your clothes.
Like,
they fit good. No question about it. You've got crappy wardrobe. You feel crappy.
Right. Exactly. So that was my approach with the business.
Yeah.
And that's how I opened with my presentation.
Excellent. Okay.
You know, I gave them statistics. I gave them numbers of how many adults were facing anxiety and depression, and recorded it, and had mental and behavioral issues. Like, that's how I attacked it. Right.
Great.
And so, you know, they got more in depth into what I was.
Got their attention.
Got the attention. Unemployment rate. People gonna have to start getting back to work. How they're gonna dress coming out of this. Like, all of this.
Gregory, I remember when the pandemic started, right? I didn't know what to do. So I'm sitting in my underwear, basically sweats on the couch, thinking this is going to be over in what? A couple of weeks, right?
Like a couple of weeks.
Then I realized I'm going to like die on this guy. So I would get up in the morning and I started putting on a nice shirt. It wasn't always pants. It was, springtime. So it was in shorts and stuff. But if I was going to see myself on the screen all the time, I wanted to look good and feel good. And like, you're actually waking up, and that was definitely important for my mental state,
Yeah. And like it even for me, like, that's what, like, I even see myself go into that comfort zone, and I was like, wait a minute, what am I doing? Like, so I would get fully dressed on some days, shoes and all, man,
the whole thing.
And I would sit down at my desk, dude, and I would just go to work.
Yeah.
Like,
I love it.
It just helps with vitality. It helps with productivity. Like, it helps with all of it.
No question about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I was thinking, when I created this company, this brand, is like, that's going to be my approach to help people in this time.
Yeah.
Like, it's great to go see a therapist, which, I have that experience, but let's do it in a different way.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's essential. Clothes are essential.
Clothes all the time.
All the time. So why not understand what are the proper fits for your body type? Do you know your body type? Do you know what colors work for you? So like, I put all of this into context with this presentation, and I gave it. The judges, when I finished, the judges were like, "You really put some thought into this, didn't you?" I was like, "Yes, I did." Even though it was 24 hours, I still had some thought into it. Like, it's passion. That's why I said I'm passionate about human empowerment. Like, it's just me.
It drives you.
Sure. It's my DNA, man.
Right.
And just try to, the thing for me is like, where do I place that? In what industry I'm in? How do I, like, where do I place it? And that's the only thing to change. The mission is always the same. It's just the chapter of the books and industries that change. That's it.
That's a good way to say it. I think that's a good way to say it. So the company is Gregory Jerome.
Right. Image consulting.
And eventually you want to build a brand out of that. And
yes,
is that one of your plans?
So let me get back.
Did you get the 10,000 by the way?
I didn't get the 10,000, but this is what happened.
Okay.
Out of 17 people, I placed as runner-up.
Second.
Yes.
That's pretty goddamn good.
That's pretty damn good, man. Winging it, right?
Does a runner-up must get something.
So I received $2,500 and a laptop sponsored by Dell.
Nice. Well, you need a laptop, and $2,500 will give you some pocket change.
Well, the $2,500 went towards launching this thing. All the paperwork, getting everything done right, because I wanted to make sure when I went into this, even though I don't know much about business, be like the world of business, I definitely want to make sure that I went in this, with proper paperwork. I want to make sure everything is where it's supposed to be, because I've heard conversations with different individuals, prestigious individuals, who have stated there were opportunities for businesses and they just didn't have their paperwork together, or X, Y, and Z wasn't right. And, they had to deal with this legal issue. And I'm like, I don't want that to be.
I represent those people sometimes.
Right. And I'm like, I don't want to be that person. Like, I don't want to be that company.
Right.
So, it's one of these things for me at this point. I'm 1 year, and yesterday marks 2 months. So 1 year and 2 months into my business.
From the official
And
launch of Gregory Jerome.
right, exactly.
Long story to
The
get
fish.
there, though.
Oh my
Long
goodness, man.
journey. But
Long
you're just
journey.
starting, and you're just starting.
Yeah, and I'm just starting.
New chapter.
And so there's new things that, like, there's business things that, if you don't know, you don't know.
Right.
And so I'm learning as I go, and I'm like, whoa, well, I gotta wait till I get this so I can do that, and wait till I get this so I can do this. Right. So it's all this, like, because business is not like rolling
Right. You
in.
can't just do it. Right. Now you got to be a little
But
strategic about it.
right, exactly. So as time goes, then I'll grow as well and get the things that I need. But I will say this, for me, being at the mark that I am in my career, I've been able to work with about 20 clients. Some of those are politicians. Some
Nice.
of those are executives, CEOs. I've also done workshops and presentations for universities. I've also, matter of fact, I'm trying to get my thoughts right. I just made my first corporate contract, right?
Nice.
With Pico.
Okay. To work with their
So
executive team?
it's actually to work with their employees.
Okay. Yeah. People
So
are
that's
looking
something
to,
that I'm
they
offering.
were looking
Yeah.
for benefits and help their employees, make them feel good and want to work
Right.
at the company, good culture.
Right.
Absolutely.
And right now, like, that's where I see my prime focus being. The one-offs are great, but I think if I'm able to land more corporate contracts,
Right.
and like that,
Well,
like,
you can
that's
only
gonna
take on so many wealthy individuals who are your personal clients, because you can only be so many places and do so much I'm the same way. So as I get more and more people on retainer and stuff, I got to bring in
right,
support to do the things that I don't have time to do, and
right,
isn't that hard to do, So yeah,
yeah,
I could see that. You can spread the word, and at some point you're going to need, though, other stylists to work with you if you're
right,
pulling corporate. Now you want to work with the executive team, and then you could train the people below, but you may not be
right,
shopping for them.
right.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. And I had a conversation with Philly Starters, which is a nonprofit organization that works with entrepreneurs and new business owners. And that was a question they asked me. They was like, is this specifically a GregoryJerome.com, or can you, like, duplicate
Private
what
label
you do?
it. Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, yes, because what I'm going to be looking for is individuals who's graduating with psychology degrees, especially in behavioral science,
Yeah.
right? And then still have kind of like a love for this fashion world. And I can teach them the things about fashion. That's no problem. Right.
Nice.
But the psychology part is the thing that should come in with.
Right.
So they can understand their clients.
Right.
Because that's the process with my clients. In the behavioral mental health world, right, is a thing they call an intake. And it's basically, you get all the information from individuals so you can understand what the diagnoses are, right?
Right. Absolutely.
That's the same thing. That's the same thing that I do with my clients. I do an intake.
Yeah, you want to know them. You want to get to know them better than they know themselves, right?
So it's understanding their behaviors, their thought processes, what got them to the point that they're at now.
Right.
And where do they want to go? Like, what do they need?
Of course.
And so that's that more in depth. And sometimes it uncovers some things that they didn't think about, that, that it's stuck in the subconscious root of the mind, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
They finally unveil it, and it's like, oh yeah, I did deal with this, or this situation did happen in my life that, put me this direction to wear this color, or not to wear this, or right. Yeah. So then it's helping them to, like, take all that off, and now let's put on who you are in a more authentic style. And that's using symbols, shapes, cultural, anything representation to help you do that, to own who you are.
Right. Well, Gregory Jerome will be the brand. Eventually, you'll be dealing with all kinds of custom shops that put your label on the pieces. So it'll always say Gregory Jerome, and you'll have a process, whatever psychological process that is, and that'll be it. And it won't just be you. That'll be the brand.
Right. That's the brand.
Yeah. So, Gregory, I can't thank you enough. There's a marathon discussion. I love it. How can people interact with you, learn from you, get in touch with you? What's the best way for them to do that?
A couple of different ways. First is my website,
GregoryJerome.com.
which is
Oh,
thegregoryjerome.com.
the Gregory. Right. I love it. Is there another Gregory Jerome?
I hope not. But listen. I will tell you this. On Facebook, I did come across a guy who says his name is Gregory Jerome, and then there's another guy somewhere in New Jersey. His name is Jerome Gregory.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, right.
That you can't.
So
well, the other guy, we can kind of make him disappear, but the Jerome Gregory guy, we can't do that.
Right. And then the other place where people can find me is I live on LinkedIn. That's where my house reside.
Good.
Under Gregory Jerome. And then my vacation home is on Instagram under Gregory Jerome.
Got it. Instagram. Okay. Well, we'll put links in the show notes so people can follow you, learn from you. We'll start making the world dress better one person at a time, right? So I can't thank Effie enough for introducing us and for spending what is like now an hour and a half telling your whole unbelievable story.
And I appreciate it.
And let's definitely stay in touch. And as you know, I build my business too. You'll keep making me look better.
Hey, that's it, man. We're here together. I appreciate the time. I appreciate the opportunity.